is Anthony Slater doing here? He's talking dubs. He's joining us on the River Islands guest line. As all guests in 95.7 The Game appear on the River Islands guest line, isn't it time for you to discover the islands, River Islands, and Lathrop? And you know what? Let's just bring him right into the conversation. No, not about Tom Green, My Bum is on the Swedish, or Office Space, which I'm sure Anthony is very well aware of both of those references. But did you hear what Shaquille O'Neal had to say in Inside of the NBA yesterday, Anthony? And good morning to you.
Good morning. How are y'all? He said something about how Steph should be in like the GOAT debate.
That's exactly what he said. Steph should be in the GOAT conversation. Now, when we talk about that, you know, Shasky and I were debating like what constitutes being just in that conversation. Like you have to be a top 10 player, which I think Steph checks that box. But what makes him so unique when we talk about these things is that not only is he like, height-wise the smallest of all the players in that conversation, but he's not a two-way player like almost all of them. He doesn't really play, he just doesn't play elite defense. Should that matter in that GOAT conversation, Anthony?
I mean, sure, everything should matter if we're talking about greatest of all time. I wouldn't, but one thing I'd say about Steph's defense is, I mean, it's been a decade now. He doesn't not play defense. He's certainly not, a 6'8" wing who has been an all defender at any point, but he's capable on that end. He's been a part of many, very good defenses, including, by the way, one right now that's been awesome lately. He's gotten bigger. He's always bought into the team concept. He tries. He's not really like, obviously there have been times in his career, and I can definitely think of the Cavaliers finals where, Ty Lue has attempted to pick on him to tire him out. But I wouldn't consider him a bad defender.
So I'm looking at this and like Steph Curry in particular, his scoring since Jimmy, he's up almost 8 points. 3-point percentage since Jimmy, up like 3-4 points. Shooting percentage up 8 points just overall. He's taking more shots, hitting them at a better clip. Their team turnovers are a little down. Their assists are a little up. Like the offensive rating is through the roof. What is it about Jimmy Butler's game that's helping everyone? And Draymond, all his numbers, all of them are up, and he's more efficient. What is it specifically that's really helped the Warriors' offense?
I think it's a lot of things. I think more than like the strategic aspect of it is the mental side of it, right? I mean, I just think the idea that they've got a shot now has just, clearly, invigorated Draymond on the defensive end. He's just playing harder. He's, guaranteeing championships and the various things. And I think with Steph, how many times in the mid part of the season when they were going 13 and, 26 over like a 39-game stretch, whatever it was, did you just see him deflated?
Yeah.
When he's when he's deflated, he's just not going to have as much pop. He's not going to come to the arena with as much, belief that not only are they going to win that game, but they're playing for something bigger. Well, suddenly they're playing for something bigger. It's post All-Star break, which by the way, he like kind of historically has had the post All-Star break bump, which is common in the league. The weather's warming up. The playoffs are getting closer. We're standings watching every night. So I think he just looks like really kind of mentally locked in right now. And I think that's related to Butler's addition, but I think that's also just kind of Steph Curry at various points of the season. He has like super hot streaks often at this time of the year. And then as far as like, clearly Butler's low turnover, he's, getting to the rim, which, he is freeing some, Steph up a little bit. Steph has said that he feels like all the possessions in general are easier and he's more confident getting off the ball and getting it back. Steve Kerr has talked about like the second side of plays, which maybe earlier in the season with the team they had, the ball wasn't getting back to Steph on possessions it should have. So I think there's a lot of things going on here. But honestly, I think Steph is like you saw it last night. It's not like the Knicks are suddenly like, oh, we'll single team Steph Curry. No, like they're getting layups because Steph is still being double teamed. Jimmy's being able to get to the rim. So I almost think Steph's presence is helping more than the other way around.
Talking with Anthony Slater, Warriors insider for The Athletic and R95.7 The Game, Warriors insider courtesy of the River Islands guest line. And Anthony, just taking into the game last night, like it's the New York Knicks, it's Madison Square Garden. This was like the biggest test, obviously. And I know it kind of sucks that Karl-Anthony Towns is out due to personal reasons, so we didn't really get to see the Knicks at their full strength. And you can say the same for the Warriors because they haven't had Jonathan Kuminga, which we'll ask you about a little bit later. But just taking a pulse of this team and where they've been since acquiring Jimmy Butler, since he's been playing as a Golden State Warrior, they're 9-1, obviously, when he plays in a Golden State Warriors jersey. You look at the teams, and I know we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, The Kings, was a team that kind of was a thorn in their side. They're fighting. They've been hot as of late. The Mavericks, they didn't have Anthony Davis, a lot of their size. The Hornets are the Hornets. The Magic are in a couple of games under 500. You lose to a Sixers team. Again, Jimmy didn't play in that game, and you felt like you could have won that one, but Quentin Grimes goes off. You didn't expect that. And again, yeah, you handle, like I said, the Hornets. Biggest win, obviously, in this stretch, but are you looking up here like I am in these upcoming games here at home, starting on Saturday with the Pistons, and then you got the Blazers who are fighting still, got the Kings, Knicks, Nuggets, Bucks. Are we going to find out a lot about this team in the upcoming week and upcoming series of games here at home at Chase Center?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the competition's getting better. This was their softest portion of the schedule. Honestly, if they had not made the trade, they probably would have gone over 500 during this stretch. I mean, it was like you said. I mean, it was the Mavs when they're at their lowest. It was the Hornets twice when they're the worst team of basketball right now. There was a lot of wins there. Now they've done it in a much more dominant fashion than we had seen all year. Right? There's been blowouts where they're sitting the fourth. The metrics right now would tell you. Steve Kerr mentioned it last night. They're top 5 offense, top 5 defense. Like they're doing it in a way that in a very small sample screams championship contender. But yeah, I want to see them try to play the Nuggets at home is that an ABC Saturday night game? Or that might
the
be
Nuggets are on a Monday. The Knicks are the Saturday night game next week at 5:30.
But Nuggets game of all those games, I'm most interested in that because that very easily could be the 6-3 matchup. And that's a tough test for a small team. By the way, Jimmy Butler's the tallest player in their starting lineup. And you're talking about maybe going against Nikola Jokic. Yeah, I want to see him against that. That's very different than anybody that they've played so far, including the Knicks last night. So tests are coming, and they should come. We've seen 10 games of Jimmy Butler. 10 games, especially against average to below average opponent, doesn't define a team. But all the signs are great. But yeah. I mean, we've got to see a whole lot more, at least before I'm willing to be like, yeah, they're definitely going to compete for a West title.
It feels like right now so many elements are just firing on all cylinders. All the role players feel like they know exactly what they're supposed to do. Pod's playing well. Moody's playing, really good. I know the last couple games haven't been as good as what he was prior. Gee making plays. Quentin Post making a couple plays here and there. GB2, obviously, before the injury was looking really good. What's going on with Jonathan Kuminga? Because I'm waiting for him to be added to the mix. Is there any update on the injury? Because I haven't heard a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of trying to report it within all, when I do podcasts or radio hits or stories. I mean, I think it's pretty simple from my understanding. Charlotte was the soft target date as he was kind of trying to ramp up from what, again, was a very bad ankle sprain, which I understand that people are surprised it's taken this long for an ankle sprain, but it was just, he was in a walking boot. He was on a scooter. He was on crutches. This has taken a while. As he ramped up, and again, like I said, soft target date with Charlotte. I thought it was probably going to happen that night. The ankle hasn't felt fully ready. The full burst is there. He's been doing workouts. Every time we go to shoot arounds, to practices, he's afterwards, he's doing 3-on-3s. And it's just, the team and Kuminga decided the ankle wasn't quite ready for Charlotte. So they didn't green light him for this back-to-back. I think it's, he has not been officially ruled out of tomorrow's game in Brooklyn. I guess it's possible he returns tomorrow night. It's possible they wait till the early part of the homestand. But yeah, that's really where it's at. You will see him soon, but they just haven't done the full green light because the ankle, to Kuminga and to Rick Salverini and his staff hasn't felt quite fully ready.
So there's been no setbacks or anything as far as you're concerned, or as far as you're aware of, Anthony. No setbacks or anything with the ankle in regards to this recovery.
Setbacks is too strong a word. I mean, look, is he icing it post game when I get in there? Yes. Is it clearly still bothering him as he tries to come back from clearly the worst ankle sprain of his life? Yes, but again, I wouldn't necessarily consider that a setback. I would consider maybe a slow version of a late stage recovery, but that's not abnormal, especially for an athlete like Kuminga who, what's his specialty? Lateral quickness, really, high level bursts to the rim, stuff he has to feel very confident on an ankle that he's coming back from that he missed 2 months on, to really burst if he's going to be the effective player he wants to be. So again, setback that's too concerning of a term because I don't think there's been any type of injury setback, but yes, I can understand that it's been a slow, late-stage recovery.
Are you as surprised as I am seeing the synergy in the fourth quarter from these guys as quickly as we've seen it? Because this got pieced together at the deadline, and last night's game is a great example. Obviously, Jimmy helps them get into the bonus, into the fourth quarter, which is a huge game changer. But the three-man little, like, triangle they were running last night with Dre and Butler and Curry, and they were flip-flopping who was on that block and moving without the ball and forcing opponents into figuring out who they want to double team. Like, I'm seeing a level of half-court offense that's like, wow. I mean, this is why you made the move. Are you surprised it's been this quick and this good so fast?
Yeah, and I do think part of that is like everything has come together, like where Podziemski's playing his best basketball, maybe of his career, really, but certainly, of his second season. Moody's getting, I think the consolidation part of the trade is maybe getting underrated here, where, like it's just like Steve Kerr doesn't have all these various rotation choices to go to like he did early in the season, where, a lot of these guys maybe are out of rhythm because they don't know when or, if they're starting, what type of minutes they're going to get. But the other thing is, I think a lot of people who are surprised by this trade just didn't realize how good Jimmy Butler was, and particularly as an IQ type player, right? There was concern about spacing in this. I think people just didn't realize the passing, like the subtle playmaking and the attitude he brings to the team, which is just like kind of like completely reformed them, and obviously, like I said, invigorated Draymond and Steph, and unlocked Podziemski in some lineups, and then the defensive end. To me, they won that game last night on defense. 21 fourth quarter points for the Knicks, and by the end of the game, when Podziemski's getting those easy breakout layups, and Moody had that layup at the end, it literally looked like the Knicks had given up. I think that was because they felt like they couldn't score, and I think it was the defense that won it.
Yeah, so you bring up the defense, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like seeing Moody do really well against Jalen Brunson. Now, he's a very specific player, a little smaller, but he's thick. He plays very deliberately. Is that the role for Moody? You can't do it against the bigger guys and the more explosive guys, but I thought he really made Jalen Brunson work hard last night in the second half, and I thought that was a great little adjustment by Steve Kerr. Is that maybe a role for him moving forward?
Yeah, but you said it's specific type of players. It's the Hardens, it's the Brunsons, it's the slower, deliberate, because like Moody's weakness defensively would be his lateral foot speed. Okay, they played Memphis. Like, you can't just suddenly go, all right, now do what you did to Brunson to John Morant, right?
No, you can't.
No, but and this shouldn't, last night shouldn't necessarily surprise anyone, because Moody's best defensive game of his career prior to last night was Brunson last year in New York. Andrew Wiggins was away from the team for about 4 games last year. Y'all probably remember on a road trip, and he guarded Jalen Brunson really well, and that has been regularly referenced by people behind the scenes over the last year of where Moody can help defensively is how he guarded Brunson that night. So I think they knew they wanted to have him, on Jalen last night. And to your point, I think in those certain matchups against specific perimeter players, he's going to try hard. He's got crazy wingspan. He's gotten more athletic over the last few years, and he wants it defensively. So certain matchups, he can be useful.
Okay, this question is going to sound insane as I'm talking to Anthony Slater, Warriors insider for The Athletic, right here on 95.7 The Game, The Morning Roast, Spinoni and Chasky. It's going to sound a little crazy, just given the expectation of these two players, but I'm going to ask it anyways. If I could have more scoring consistency from one of these two players going forward, which one would you pick? And we haven't even seen the guy enter the fold yet, but every time I see Buddy Hield score, some three-point makes, a couple in a row, they just feel so much more impactful than anything else I've seen from this team. So if I can get consistent scoring from either Jonathan Kuminga or Buddy Hield going forward, Anthony Slater, which one is going to pay off more dividends going forward for this team?
What are the numbers when Buddy Hield scores 15 or more? Isn't it something crazy?
Yeah, they're just unbeatable.
Yeah. His shooting does, I feel like every team has one or two of those just bench shooters, even the Celtics. Hauser hit 4 threes tonight. That's, basically taking them into unbeatable territory. Draymond has always been like that. So when Draymond hits 3 threes in his career, the Warriors win percentage is 900 or something. So you could say Buddy Hield because of those type of stats and the fact that supplementary shooting opens the floor up for everybody. But to me, their ceiling, if we're talking ceiling, it's like, if Jonathan Kuminga is like an 18 to 20 point per game, like slashing downhill weapon scorer, it would signal that he really fit into this, reforming Warriors team. Like, to me, that's the fringe contender version of the Warriors. That's where the ceiling is raised. Because, like, we know what Buddy Hield is. We know he's going to go hot and cold. And on nights he's hot, they're going to be better. But, like, Jonathan Kuminga being what you said, like the really consistent every night scorer, I think vaults them into a different category of a team that they can't be if he is not. So I would answer Kuminga.
Is there anything that you're concerned about over the next couple of weeks that maybe, the winning has kind of masked? I'm looking at, and I'll give you an example while you think about it. They still need a rim protector. It's tough. Like, they need a size and to be able to clear some of these rebounds. I worry about second chance points against certain opponents, down the stretch. Is there something for you, like, you're like, all right, they've been winning, but here's the thing I'm really going to key on over the next couple of weeks when they play some tougher opponents?
I mean, look, finishing at the rim, most of their best players are not, besides, Kuminga, and we'll see, and that's why I think he matters, like, are not, like, elite rim finishers. Butler historically has been, but he's also, I watched some Bulls highlights of Butler. I mean, he's exploding to the ring. He's 35 now. So he's not, the finisher he used to be. And I do think against better, defenses, veteran defenses, particularly playoff defenses, like, that could be the Achilles heel. As far as second chance points, maybe a little bit. They've weirdly been very good as a rebounding team over the last couple of years, even when playing, very small. Looney's at least off the bench is like kind of a rugged rebounder and an option if you need it. Truth is, I would say the biggest concern about this team is the age. Draymond Green turned 35 last night. Butler is 35. Steph Curry turns 37 later this month. Steph, tweaked an ankle on this trip. The games are starting to pile up a little bit. Butler missed a game with back spasm. Saw him fall a couple times last night and grimace. Draymond, we know, has had back issues. He's had calf issues this year. They look really good right now. There is a level of, you see it in sports with the interim coach bump, right? You just get that invigoration in the middle of a season. Well, they got that with the trade. As that wears off a little bit, as they go home, as the games pile up, they have a 6-game trip later in the year. Like, do these guys' bodies hold up, and minds hold up, as it gets deeper? That would be, one of my questions.
All right, one more for you, Anthony, before we let you go here. You've been so good to us. We appreciate it. If you're the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, how would you stack the hierarchy of the next remaining contenders that you would fear most in the West? Give me the top 3 teams in order, if I'm the Oklahoma City Thunder, that I should fear.
Oh, like, out of anybody?
Out of anyone in the West.
I'd say
in the West.
Right now, I mean, the Lakers look the most fearsome. What is that, 7 in a row? Like, Luka looks like he's getting back to Luka. And Luka beat them in the playoffs last year in the second round. Kind of hobbled version of Luka beat them in the playoffs. So, they would be probably 1A and 1B right now. I would say it's Denver because, Jokic is the best player in basketball. I think that's, the Thunder would probably argue it's Shea, but, I think most people still think it's Jokic. So I would say those two. And then after that, like, the Warriors are certainly kind of in that second tier conversation. And if you're of the belief of, like, who Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr have historically been, in playoff settings, you'd probably put them 3 right now because, the West in a lot of ways is falling apart a little bit around them. Houston is nosediving. The Grizzlies, what's the Jaren Jackson injury update? I meant to look that up, but, he just got injured. Obviously, Dallas would have been their most feared opponent. They have really struggled. The Thunder have with Dallas, but, obviously that's scratched them off the list. So, it's not that great under the Thunder, but that is the hierarchy I would probably predict.
For Jaren Jackson Jr., this was the latest on Monday. He suffered a grade 2 left ankle sprain, is considered week to week per the Grizzlies. Yeah. There you go. Anthony, appreciate the time, man, as always. Good stuff, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, fellas.
Thank you, buddy.
That's Anthony Slater, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. So he has Lakers, Nuggets as far as the fear factor for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then he said there was a gap, and then the Warriors.
It sounds kind of like what I've been saying for the last couple days.
You think there's a huge gap come playoff time, playoff series between the Warriors, Lakers, and Nuggets?
Look, could the Warriors lose to anyone? Yes. Okay. That being said,